Anyway, very annoying time for Boris Johnson. 4 senior aides resigned within hours of each other.
Yeah, here to tell us more about it all is our political correspondent Tom Harwood. He's in Downing Street for us this morning. Look, this was all kicked off, wasn't it, by Munira Mirza, a close ally of Boris Johnson for years, and then it sort of seemed to precipitate a bit of a tsunami of resignations.
It absolutely has, and I've got some breaking news to add to you this morning. In the last few minutes, one further aide has resigned. Elena Narazansky was in the policy unit, not one of the senior aides in Downing Street, but worked under Munira Mirza in the policy unit of number 10, and this morning she has resigned in the last few minutes as well. There is a bit of a feeling that there is a change at the top of this street, at the top of this government. How much of it is wanted by number 10 and how much of it could be described as potentially rats fleeing a sinking ship? That's what the detractors of this Prime Minister will be saying. However, Conservative MPs this morning, many of whom saying that the Prime Minister was promising changes in the way that the number 10 operation was run, promising not only structural but also personnel changes, and so of these resignations I think will be welcomed by Conservative MPs. Not least of all Martin Reynolds, of course, the senior aide to Boris Johnson, who sent that now infamous bring your own booze email inviting number 10 staff to that drinks event in the garden of Downing Street during the first lockdown. I think that some of these resignations, particularly the 3 we heard about after Munira Mirza last night, were more to do with number 10 wanting them out than people resigning of their own volition.
OK, and away from the sort of people behind the scenes, a supposed key ally of the Prime Minister, his right-hand man, the Chancellor Rishi Sunak, showing a little bit of perhaps a fractious relationship there in some of his comments yesterday.
Yes, I think that Rishi Sunak has not been the closest ally of Boris Johnson over the last few months, not least of all when Boris Johnson came to tell the Commons, to apologise to the Commons about this whole affair. Rishi Sunak was not in Westminster. He had rushed off to Devon, I believe it was, on the other side of the country. He hasn't been seen to be that close to Boris Johnson recently, and indeed last night at his solo press conference in number 9 Downing Street, putting distance between himself and the Prime Minister over those Jimmy Savile comments that the Prime Minister made, saying that he would not have made those comments himself, but also saying that he was glad that the Prime Minister clarified what he meant. Of course, these are the comments that seem to be the reason why Munira Mirza resigned yesterday. That's what she said in her letter. She'd asked the Prime Minister to not only clarify but also apologise, and the Prime Minister simply clarified that he meant that Sir Keir Starmer was not personally involved in the prosecution decision over Sir Keir Starmer, but took over Jimmy Savile, but took responsibility for it as head of the organisation. Well, Munira Mirza wanted an outright apology, and she didn't get one quite as she wanted. But also, of course, the Chancellor there saying that he would not have made those comments in the first place. A bit of a significant moment, not standing as close to the Prime Minister as some might have expected.
It's interesting how all this is being spun, Tom. We're just looking here. Downing Street spinning this. This is the Prime Minister taking control here. But clearly, in the case of Munira Mirza, that is not the case. And also we're seeing here that there seems to have been, it's been reported in the Mail today, that there was a stand-up between Ms Mirza and the Prime Minister's wife, Carrie Johnson. And what are they saying about this, Isabel?
Well, it's according to one source that they're quoting that they were overheard having a row, and that Carrie Johnson was accusing Munira Mirza of being disloyal, and certainly speaks to not necessarily a Prime Minister in control, which is how it's trying to be spun this morning.
So basically, yeah, I mean, is he in control or are they jumping ship?
Well, this is the question, and if you speak to different people, you will get different answers. Certainly, in the MP's WhatsApp group yesterday, one of the whips was encouraging members of Parliament to tweet out messages saying that the Prime Minister had promised to get a grip of his organisation, and these personnel changes show that that's what he's doing. However, you're absolutely right to say there has been infighting in Number 10. There has been infighting in Number 10 for quite some time between various factions. At first, there was the Vote Leave faction. They were pushed out by those who were closer to the Prime Minister's wife, Carrie Johnson. And indeed, there are other groups within Number 10, those who are closer to the Chancellor, those who want to see a more, shall we say, conservative political agenda, who are worried about net zero, who think that some of the interventionist policies of this government have gone too far. There's certainly disagreement within that building behind me. However, I don't think that we can lump all of these resignations in the same box. The Munira Mirza resignation is certainly significant. It's certainly political. However, those three following resignations, they seem like they would have come sooner or later anyway, not least because of their involvement in the Partygate affair.
Tom?
Well, stand by. Let us know if you hear of any more resignations in the course of the next day.
Yeah, so we've got a fifth name to add to that, a Number 10 policy unit member quitting, breaking there exclusively from Tom at Downing Street.